Okay, this is Kevin, and we are going over expository content-free questions as a strategy for reading and understanding and comprehending what we've read. I just went over a reading with Kevin, and now we're going to go over our content-free questions. So Kevin, I explained to you that one of the things you can do just prior to reading or during your reading is come up with questions that are going to help you remember and pull more information from the passage you're reading. This is going to be very helpful in school, especially in social studies and science where you have to read. One of the things that I mentioned to you in the past is you tend to remember a few details, but not all of them. But if I start asking you questions, you start remembering a lot more. So what I would like to do with this strategy is show you a way that right before you're reading and as you're reading, you can be asking yourself questions that will help you remember ideas to jot down on our description map, okay? Some of the questions I'm going to leave on this chart for you to see. You can look at these just before you read and during your reading. Let's go over some of these. What is the topic of the session? And we did that a couple days ago when we did the main idea map, and we pulled out some ideas. What is the author's purpose? Why is he bothering to tell you all this? What about this one?
What are the most important ideas?
Okay, sort of like the main idea. What are you supposed to get from it? What about this one?
What is most important to me? Like most interesting to me?
Yeah, that's a good question to ask yourself. Why is this interesting to me? Do you know something about the topic? You always seem to know a little bit about everything. So maybe there is a point in here that interests you. Maybe it doesn't. What about this one?
What did I learn?
All right, and then this one.
What I already know about this topic.
Okay, don't I tell you all the time? You always bring some information. This is always something when you start to read that you can say, oh, what do I already know about this? What can I relate it to in my life? What about this one?
What surprised me?
I'm always surprised by what I read. I'm always learning something new. How about this one?
What are some words that I learned?
Good.
What are some words that I don't know the meaning of? Does the text give me a hint about their meaning?
Okay, I want you to really, really think about these two as you're reading. Sometimes you get to a word and you don't really quite decode it, and you skip over it. And then if I ask you a definition, sometimes you give me a sort of a definition, but I really want you to understand it. Because if you really understand a word or you take the time to look it up, it will help with the comprehension, the meaning of the whole passage. All right, how is it different from what you already knew? And then...
how could I explain this in my own words?
Okay, and I don't just mean, well, it's kind of like, sort of. I mean really in-depth explain what the author's saying. What about this one?
What don't I understand?
It's amazing to me, the more I learn, the less I understand. How about this one?
How is this connected to me?
Okay, so all these questions on this chart are going to sit right here next to you. And I want you to, as you're reading, stop. Think of some of these questions. Ask yourself the question and use them to jot down things on your description idea map, okay? I'm going to read just a few sentences from this passage, and I'm going to stop and have you ask one of these questions out loud of yourself and see if you can come up with an answer. And then I'm going to let you read this silently and stop every once in a while and ask yourself a question about it, okay? All right. All right, I'm going to start, and when I stop, I want you to be able to answer one of these questions. You decide what question to ask yourself, and you come up with the answer as well, okay? So, the world's largest marsupial. Anything you want to ask so far?
Where's that one? Oh, this one.
Okay.
Are there some words I don't know the meaning of? Does the text give me a hint about their meaning?
Okay, what word don't you know the meaning of?
I can't even say it.
Marsupial? Very good. What do you think it might be about? Just if you had to guess.
An animal?
Okay, not enough information yet. Let me keep going. What Australian mammal can leap 25 feet in one hop and move for short periods at 35 miles an hour? Now, any ideas? A kangaroo. Very good. So you stopped and asked that question. We've underlined marsupial, and from the context clues, you were able to figure out it's kangaroo. Now, do you know what a marsupial is?
It's a kangaroo.
Anything else you want to ask?
What did I learn? I learned that they can leap 25 feet in one hop and move 35 miles in a short period.
Okay. What do you already know about kangaroos? Anything?
They live in Australia.
Okay.
Do you have a little pouch and when they have a little baby kangaroo, it's called a joey.
Wow, you already know a lot, huh? All right, I'm going to read a couple more sentences and then this is going to be yours. A full-grown male stands as tall as a 6-foot person and weighs 200 pounds. This is slightly bigger than the gray kangaroo, making it the world's largest marsupial. Anything you want to ask at this point, or are you good? You're okay?
I'm good.
You know nothing you want to ask yourself? Okay, what I would like you to do is I would like you to read until you hit, and you can read it quietly if you want, or you can read it out loud. I know you don't like to read out loud, but for my friends watching this video, it might be nice to listen to you read so nicely. I'm going to leave the questions right here, and I'm going to have you start right here. Reading aloud would be nice. Okay, if you read right here, read to this line out loud with good prosody, good expression. And then I want you to stop and think if there's a question you can ask yourself to help you learn some details. Okay, go ahead.
Marsupial, right? Did I say it? Marsupial?
Marsupial, good. We'll underline it.
What is a marsupial? A mammal where the mother has a pouch for carrying, feeding, and protecting her young. While a red kangaroo may be the largest marsupial, the newborn baby is tiny, under an inch long. After a few months of sleeping, nursing, and growing in the mom's stomach pouch, a young kangaroo, Joey, begins to come out. But it hurries back to the pouch fast when frightened, hungry, or cold. Eventually, the Joey gets so big that it hangs out of the pouch. Then at 8 months old, it stays out. But the Joey remains close to the mom until ready to live on its own. Okay,
look at your list. What questions can you ask yourself to get a better understanding?
Okay. Something that surprised me was that that hearing in the paragraph before that it could be that the full grown can be tall as a 6-foot person, than the Joey being like small, like an inch long. That's like small.
Very nice. Very good. You're starting to learn to ask yourself questions. Okay, the next section. Go ahead and read. Think of these questions as you're reading.
Red kangaroos are good swimmers. However, they are best known for their hopping abilities. Their long, powerful hind legs have big feet. Hopping moves them quickly over the grassy, shrubby, and desert habitats. Meanwhile, a thick tail helps them balance and steer. What do red kangaroos eat? Grass, leaves, and other vegetation. And guess what? They often regurgitate food and chew their cud like a cow.
Well, is there a question you can ask yourself about that?
Well, first sentence connects to me because I'm a swimmer and I'm pretty good, and they're good swimmers, so it connects to me.
Very nice. So one of your interests. Very good. Anything else you learned about where they live or how they eat?
Well, they regurgitate their food.
What does regurgitate mean?
Throw it up.
Okay, so you knew another big word. That was great. Okay. All right. You're going to read this last section down here. Let's read this last section here, and then I want you to see if there's any other questions that you can ask yourself. Right there.
Males show their dominance by boxing with other males. They balance on their tails and try pushing each other off balance with their forearms or by kicking them in the hind legs. This kicking ability, along with their sharp claws, can also be used by kangaroos to defend against Australia's wild dog, the dingo.
All right. Any of these questions that you can ask yourself from this reading?
Something that was interesting to me is that they show their dominance. They box and stuff.
It's kind of funny. That's something I would think of as a cartoon of them doing.
Yeah.
I didn't know they actually did it.
Exactly.
That's so interesting. Okay, now this is what we call the content-free questions, and I explained that to you when we started our lesson, that this means you can use these questions with any reading for any subject. There's not a specific question in here about the kangaroo or about a science lesson. You can ask this list of questions. I'm going to send this home with you today. You can have this with you when you do your homework, when you read for school. It's all going to be there. So I want you to start right now. I'm going to turn this over. From all these questions you asked yourself, start filling out this descriptive idea map about the kangaroo, about the world's largest marsupial. If you'll start, I just want to see how many things you can jot down, remembering what you learned from asking these questions. Give you a few minutes to do that. And I'm going to turn off the video. We're going to finish doing this, and then we're going to go over some of the vocabulary from the passage that you kind of struggled with pronouncing. And I just want to see if you can come up with the definitions as well. Okay, keep filling out your map.